Welcome to Pirate Living Podcast. We are your hosts, Kristen and Kron. On this podcast, we are highlighting ordinary people living extraordinary lives. These are pirates who take small, bold actions daily to create social change. Pirate life is all about rebelling and breaking the rules for good. Creating lasting social change starts by first breaking our inner rules. After all, the hardest rules to break are your own. The pirates we highlight have dedicated themselves to creating good trouble.
Today, we're chatting with Jessica Foster. After battling chronic health issues, Jessica found her calling as an artist. Inspired by her childhood in Australia, Jessica expresses her deep connection to the outdoors, appreciation of natural elements, and her passion for adventure through her art. Jessica helps her clients create a space uniquely theirs with art that speaks to your soul. And like for real, I've checked out her work and she is such a talent and we are excited to be chatting with her today. So welcome, Jessica.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So we would love for you to share with us the story of your pirate journey and how you got to where you are today as this amazing artist.
Well, thank you. Well, it was a long way coming. My traditional background was a geography hybrid. And after kind of chronic health stuff, trying different careers and seeing that the normal 9 to 5 didn't work, I got to a point, dog got sick, had bills coming, and I had to do something. So I just started selling things I've been making for friends for a long time. And then I found such a huge calling and draw and passion to creating, to using my own hands, to just trying to find ways to connect with people through color, through images. And through that, I was able to start to find my health back. So it's been a really unique journey, but exciting with lots of ups and downs. But it's really just, for me, taking these, little and big steps to kind of live a life that was more true to my soul is really how I found health at the end of the day. And then through my art, I hope that other people can find those same paths, be inspired to take those steps or to do something for themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So your background in geology, how does that influence your art that you create?
So my art is very abstract. I've always been drawn to more abstract art as it lets the viewer kind of take their own path and journey with what they see. But at the same time, you see a lot of rock type, a lot of aerial imagery influences in my pieces, but also kind of drawing on the concepts of space and place within geography and what kind of creates the essence of a place, and trying to convey that through color, through motion, through just how it speaks to your soul, that I can kind of connect back to memories like, oh yeah, I remember those colors make me feel like I was walking through a forest, or this mountain range that spoke to me, or something like that.
Yeah, some of your work that I've seen on your Instagram, like a lot of that water and the beach, like you said, kind of aerial views. I'm from Bermuda, I live in Vancouver now, but it just like immediately kind of took me back home to Bermuda. It's not like the water here in Vancouver at all.
Yeah.
It's just mostly brown and brown sand, but it immediately took me back to where I call home. So it was really powerful images, and even just the photographs and videos and stuff that you have up on Instagram.
Well, I'm so happy to hear that. And I do so many water pieces because water speaks to me, whether it's the beach or waterfalls, or I'm a slalom skiing is one of the loves of my life. So kind of being behind the boat, seeing the wake, seeing those different things, and knowing that, the color of water is so specific to different places for different people. And water is such a universal calming for pretty much everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And so being able to kind of see that place and see those colors and have that remind you of home, it's nice to be able to walk into your house no matter where it is and have the essence of what makes you you.
Yeah. Total random question, but are you a water sign?
Yes, I am.
Me too.
I'm a Scorpio, so.
Me too. Awesome. When's your birthday?
November 1st.
October 27th.
So right after Halloween too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So many of my art friends are like, are are you a water sign? There's a lot of water going on in here.
It's funny, I'm not a water sign and I'm all about the water. Like my favorite is my mom bribed me to be potty trained by saying, you cannot do swimming lessons unless you're potty trained. So that then the beginning of my fish days from there on
That
out.
is a huge motivation. Yeah, I was a swimmer growing up, and more recently this year, and kind of recovering from some back injury type things, I've gotten back into the water again, and it has been so healing to be swimming.
Mhm.
Well, Kristen, you're almost a Scorpio. You're just born a couple weeks too early.
Too early. I'm a Libra.
Yeah.
You're close enough.
Yeah. We'll adopt you.
Yeah.
Honorary water sign.
So I have I'm curious, what got you started in the geology and geography, like got you interested in pursuing that before you did your art?
So I grew up in Australia, and most of my family's back in the States at that time. So we were flying back and forth a lot. And as a young kid in pre-digital age of distractions on airplanes, I spent a lot of time looking out the window. So just kind of fell in love with landscape, and my father's a geologist too. So growing up, summer trips and things like that, it was tagging along for field work, camping for months on end out in, all the wonderful Western states, and, entertaining myself by playing with rocks on the side of the road. But a lot of also like, going back to living in Australia and the Aboriginal culture there, and their, kind of more rock paintings and creating pigments from soil and just that really natural element. And I loved seeing the way that the earth worked and how different landscapes were formed, especially the national parks. The national parks have always been really one of my biggest inspirations, but also something that's extremely important to me.
Yeah, it's painting with earth pigments. That had me curious too, like about taking the earth and making pigments in the art. That would be really fun. And had me thinking too of like, yeah, you visit different places and you see different things. I was having a conversation. My husband and I went to the ocean 2 days ago. Yeah, 2 days ago. And there's some sand out at one of the beaches over on the Oregon coast that I haven't seen anywhere else that I've been. It's really fine and it's black. Meanwhile, you go somewhere else like Bermuda, you have pink sand, or like Lake Michigan had really fine sand as well. So that's what I thought sand was, really fine.
Yeah.
And then I go somewhere else and I'm like, no, this is rocky. So it's fun as well, realizing that the world has so many different textures and pigments.
Yeah, it's so diverse. I mean, because you can go be some beaches and they're rocky and no sand anywhere. And I'm in Florida right now, but the beaches here are drastically different than the beaches that I grew up with in Australia, or going down to Tasmania and, really rocky beaches down there, and just how diverse the soil and the earth is it's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some of the coolest beaches I've been to, being from Bermuda, I have very high standards for beaches.
Yeah.
But going to Iceland and seeing the black sand beaches, like kind of like what you said, Kristen, and also in New Zealand, seeing black sand beaches, I was just like so drawn to them because it's so opposite of what I'm used to back home, with this like light pink sand that now is like this dark black sand, and it just looks so beautiful and so foreign to like what I'm used to in my experience.
You're getting a lot more of the volcanic rocks in the darker sands and the black sands in those areas, and it really is, it's one of those things that when I approach my art, I try and draw the inspiration from those different places, because everything needs to be celebrated. And if we can just take a moment to slow down and be more mindful, and, just even our observations, we can pick out these little things like, oh, that's why this speaks to me differently than this. And, just taking the second to breathe and celebrate that. I think it's really important how busy the world is getting.
So Kristen, is there like volcanoes close to where you were there, that you have black sand beaches?
So a lot of Oregon was developed by volcanoes. And then we do actually, like, Mount St. Helens is not too far away, but Mount Hood, which is really close, is an active volcano. It just hasn't, it's still very much in its peak. Thankfully, it hasn't blown its top like Mount St. Helens, but yeah, we have an active volcano. There's a lot of lava, like old lava flow around here. So yeah, it's very volcanic.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I didn't
so
know
it's
that.
the older lava flows and the basalt rocks and stuff like that gives that, really deep, dark color to the sand.
That's super cool.
Also makes for growing really good wine.
Oh yeah, we do have some good wine areas out here.
And so I know you talked about your dog getting sick, and as someone that just spent $10,000 on 2 new knees for Husky this year.
Yeah.
Was that the pivotal like kind of moment that you turned towards like, were you already selling your art, or
I had already been doing some, but it was the moment that I went kind of from, okay, making things for friends, dabbling in things, finding, because I love interior design stuff. I loved, painting walls as my stress relief. But I have been making gifts for friends and stuff like that for a long time. But just all of a sudden, like, she got hit with really high bills. I had high health insurance bills coming in, and it was like, okay, something has to happen. And I was like, all right, there's a market, I'm signing up for it. And it just kind of went from there and hasn't stopped. And it's 5 years later.
So I'm curious. I just did my first live event little less than a month ago for my book. And that was fun getting to meet people. I'm curious, like, how has doing markets and doing meeting people and selling your art, what has been your experience with that?
It's exhausting, but I love it. It really, that personal connection that you get with people, you don't get that online as easy. And just to kind of see people's reactions, or see the best reactions I've gotten have been honestly from little kids. Like this one, it was early on in my art career, and this one 5-year-old kid just walked by and he just stopped and he's like, "Mom, it's a masterpiece. I want to live in here." And so just like that awe-inspiring moments that you get when you don't even know what you're talking about, but something just calls to you. And just kind of like seeing that, but hearing, there's so many people's stories that I hear, but then also being able to be involved in really special moments in people's lives. Like, I'll have a husband and wife come to my booth at an art show, and the wife falls in love with something, and the husband arranges, either by talking to me or working with my husband, to like sneak an art piece around and drop it off or ship something, or being able to be play a role to make things special for other people has really been one of the most rewarding pieces of my work.
And so you do mostly custom work, right? So
yeah, I do. I do have a wide range of things that I have at any moment, but a lot of what I try and do is custom. So I try and inspire you to think of how you might want something for your space, or to just like start to give you options. Because at the end of the day, I want to create something that speaks to you, not say, "Hey, do you like this? Does it fit in for what you're looking for?" So it's working with colors, with images. I have people send me, photos of places that mean something to them, even song lyrics from when I'm working on like really abstract pieces and stuff like that, to try and really get the essence of who they are. And I do that for both, personal, residential type things, but also for businesses, where I'll go in and I'll work with their brand colors and kind of just try and capture their essence, so that you can really create a space that is unique and individual, but also connects and resonates with their clients. Because one of the first ways that we, like, first senses that we go through is how we connect with color. And that was even what with the geology and geography brought me over to art at the end of the day. But one of my kind of consistent things throughout was I had wanted to do scientific graphics. because there's so much really cool science going on. But when publications get put out there, if the graphics aren't interesting, they lose attraction no matter what the words are saying.
Mhm.
So even scientists want to see pictures.
Yeah.
Yes.
And when you're doing the custom work and getting to know your client, what kinds of questions are you asking them to really get to know them, to figure out, to match them with the work that you're going to do for them?
So I usually first start out trying to see, what that I've already put out there, what kind of connects with them first. And usually they'll send me, 10 images or something, like, oh, I like all these different things. And then I talk about, what, like I was kind of saying, what music speaks to them, what, where have they been, where have they traveled to, that, or what is their home like, trying like, if I was doing something for you guys, knowing Bermuda, knowing Oregon, knowing kind of just that side of you, but then also looking like, what colors do you have in your house? What sizes are you trying to fill? Is there, because I do all my own woodwork too, everything from framing to the gifts that I do, like cutting boards and things like that. So really trying to just nitpick and like listen to you while you're talking is where I find so many little things.
Curious now, you can see Kron's background. She's told you about Bermuda. So if she were to have a piece custom, what would you do for her?
Well, for her, let's see.
What do we got? Animals?
Yes, got a lot of animals going on there. But I'm definitely seeing when you're talking about Bermuda, I'm being drawn to that photo that's in your bottom corner there with the sailboat.
Yeah.
So I would do something where I would kind of, pull in the blues of there, but also I would be asking you, like, do you have any photos of your home? Do you have, whether it's the aerial imagery or a picture of the beach that, like, this is my beach. This is the beach that when I think of going to the beach, or what, what my happy place is, this is what speaks to me. So I would start to pull that in. I would also, kind of be asking, what wall are you going to have it on? What is the light going to do in that space? Whether it's a video I would get from you or a photo, because I play a lot with light, which is one of the reasons that my stuff is hard to photograph or put online at the end of the day, is because there's so many different reflections that I get in it, both on canvas and my resin pieces, because the whole idea is, as light changes over a landscape during the day, different highlights pop up. So I try and capture that in my pieces to try and give that essence of like, it's not completely static.
Yeah, it's really interesting. How did you learn how to do all this?
I'm self-taught. Growing up, both my mom and my dad were always active in like doing house projects and things like that, and just really encouraged expansion and growth and kind of playing with this and playing with that. There was really not like limits put on what our creativity could do or could be, and that's one thing that I feel is really important to kind of share and encourage with others, is like, you have the ability to create whatever you want at the end of the day. And sometimes it's just someone like, believing in you or pushing you that little bit more. And, I try not just to like do things that, when I love what I do, but also I'm hoping to create to inspire other people to, embrace their creativity, because creativity is not limited to art. Creativity takes all types of forms, for you guys having this idea of connecting and building a community. And it's through our creativity and through seeing what makes us all unique that we can build a vibrant community.
So you wrote something really, really powerful and beautiful about what it means to you to be a pirate. So I think you said you have everything in front of you too that you had written. Would you be willing to share with us what it was that you wrote? Because I really loved what you had there.
Sure. So what does it mean to you to be a pirate? To take actions, big or small, to live a life that is more true to your soul, to rebel against the norm and cut my own path through the storm of life, to be dauntless in the pursuit of a mindful existence, to show up for yourself even when it isn't glamorous, even when no one else sees, to take the bold steps to break free and question the should and ought tos and figure out what works for you in a way that is sustainable, nurturing, and giving to the community around you. We can only be our best selves when we are our most authentic selves. We all face different challenges and hurdles in life and carry different baggage and traumas. We all have different paths and that resonate with the core of who we are. We each have our own unique role to play in building a vibrant community. When we try to fit into the boxes, it takes away the shape of our true existence. At the core, to me, being a pirate is to turn obstacles into opportunities and to not to leave our own potential unexplored.
Mm-hmm.
Well said. And mic drop. We're done.
Yeah.
That's it.
No more podcasts. We don't need anything else from anyone ever.
Time to go be a pirate.
Yeah. So, I mean, with all of that, we talk a lot about social rebellion when it comes to piracy. So what is the social rebellion that you're looking to create with your life and your work?
At the end of the day, I want to inspire others to take the risk to follow what speaks most to them. And also to kind of, the idea of live your adventure. This is kind of sunken in really hard for me this year. And because I was always like, all right, chase your adventure, find your adventure, all these other things, and like trying to search for something that's not here right now. And I became very restless with that. And all of a sudden one day I was just like, why don't just live it? In everything we do every day, try and find little ways to live that adventure with where you're at. Because, looking back 10 years from now, you will be like, all right, that was great. But even right now, if it's not exactly what you're imagining it to be. So, for me, I love the big adventures, the hiking the mountains, the, just kind of being intense in that way. But right now it's taking the time to walk outside and see the sunrise, gardening, those like little other essence that would make up the big adventure, working them into your everyday and understanding. And I got this from Emily of Seasonal Intentions, which she's great, but the seasonality of life, we all have different seasons in our life. Some seasons are slow and fast, some seasons are slow, some seasons are fast. But taking the time to recognize that and nurture where you're at really gives a more mindful approach to things and like lets you realize the beauty that's around you in the moment. So that's kind of what I hope to inspire people to do, that to take the risks and to also find the joy in what they're doing in the moment.
Mm-hmm. I think part of that really comes to like slowing down. I think we try and treat life like every day is harvest time.
Yeah.
Which is not accurate. So I know you talked a lot about kind of regaining your health with moving towards working with your art, and how did that come about? Like, how did doing your art equal regaining your health?
So I have, since I was 18, I have a laundry list of autoimmune disorders, mast cell, POTS, EDS, kind of what they're finding now to be some like long haul symptom type things. But when I switched to doing my art, it really let me be more in tune with my body's natural rhythm, because it's not that I wasn't unable to do things, it's that I had to have my own time and approach in how I did it. So for many years, my heart rate wouldn't get up in the morning if I didn't go run first. And being able to just like carve out that time, be like, all right, if I can do A, then I can do the rest of my day. But if I don't do that and I don't take the time to listen to what my body is saying, then I'm not getting off the couch the entire day. Mm-hmm. And so really just taking the moment to say, okay, what is my body trying to tell me? What signals am I bringing in? And then my art gave me the ability not only to carve out the space for that, because I can kind of go with the flow with things a little bit not I'll definitely get overworked and stuff like that, but I can take that 30 minutes here and know that I can put that 30 minutes someplace else with what I'm doing. But also the fluid nature of the mediums that I work with, it has that I have to let go a little bit. I have to not always strive for perfection, because I will admit I have perfectionist tendencies, and I will be overly critical on everything. But when it comes to my art, I have to give it a little bit that, all right, I have every intention, but at the end of the day, the final result is completely out of my hands. And there's a beauty in that if you're always in the go, 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 or, even like the harvest mindset, you miss that little bit that's not under your control.
That learning to let go, such a big life lesson. It's one of those ones that the layers will continue to peel back, and the more you resist it, the more opportunities you have to practice it. But I remember when I used to work in childcare, and I was learning to let go. I mean, it's still a process, but I was learning to let things go.
It's always a process.
And I knew I held a lot of tension on the right side in my job. And I was like releasing it when I knew like what it was that was getting me to tense up my jaw. One day I was like, my jaw is so tight right now. Like, why? And oh, wait, this is where I try to control life. Like, this is the area where I'm like, if things aren't in my control, I'm going to hold it right here. So I started asking myself, because working in childcare, it was also during the time of COVID. So we had all these restrictions on like how many kids to teachers, and our schedules were all over. And so parents wouldn't stick to their schedules, and they'd bring their kids in early, and I'd be like, I have too many kids, not enough teachers, and I can't put them in a classroom because of all these ratios, all this stuff. And I was like, wait. That's what I'm trying to control right here. And I have no ability to be, unless I can go individually to each parent's house and say, no, don't leave yet. I have no ability to control that. So why am I doing that? And I was able to laugh at myself, but it's when you get to start getting paying attention to the teachers in life that are like, hey, this is you trying to control a situation. Can you let it go? And then the more you say, yes, I can let it go, the more flow comes in, and the more ability to laugh at when you catch yourself comes up too.
It's your body will keep the score. And learning to live in harmony with it, even though it's not an easy task at all. But one of your guests, Kate, with Becoming Unbreakable, I got her book right afterwards, and was like, I've been dealing with back stuff this year, and reading her book and listening to her on here was kind of that one little extra push you needed to really listen and like almost have that approval, like, okay, my body's giving me all these signals. What if I don't fight it? How can what would that mean if I didn't fight it, but just listen to them and try to nurture things in the right direction? And that idea of becoming unbreakable, becoming, one, so when something flares up, okay, this is probably what triggered it, and these are some steps I can do to help it.
Then so Kate Galliett, her book Becoming Unbreakable, it's really good. She talks about too becoming an investigator, like almost as if you landed into your body and this is your first day there, like start exploring it and figuring out what it is. And when you come in with that mindset, there's so much more forgiveness too. Like, oh, my back hurts today, and it must be because I did this, this, and this, versus like, my back hurts today. What will help? What can I do? Can I move, do some easy movement? It's, it's really, go ahead.
It's definitely, because I do, like, there'll be days I do like a ton of sanding or a ton of woodwork, and then I'm working on like really large painting pieces where like I'm bent over and all kinds of stuff. And like sometimes the day after I'd be like, I am so sore, like, and I would just like start to like freak out, like, oh no, like, am I going to be able to do this? Am I going to be able to do that? But kind of realizing like, no, okay, I feel this, but I can also do these things instead. And, to have that approach towards yourself, it's something I had always, seen more with kind of working with wood, for example, because I love working with scraps of pieces and kind of seeing how you can uncover the natural beauty that is the piece of wood itself. Or, even like with my pieces that have both like resin and woodwork, is kind of to bring out the natural, how does the color accentuate the piece of wood, and how does that kind of like lead to more appreciation for what it is. And so I'm like, all right, I'm used to doing that in this mindset, but what if I choose and turn that direction to myself? Like that slow working on the sanding down the layers and kind of like bringing out, okay, what is left at my core at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's very like one of our pirate principles at the core too. Like there isn't anybody that's going to come and rescue you. You are the one in charge of you. So what are the things that you want to do to make that change in your life? Because doctors aren't going to rescue you.
No.
Your husband or your partner isn't going to rescue you. Kids aren't going to rescue you. Like it's up to you. And it's such an important step too, in being able to claim your life and do what you want to do.
Yeah, that's it at the end of the day, is being able to be one with who's inside of you, and then surround yourself with things that resonate with you, because no one's going to give you, like with my health stuff, I've seen every specialist when I was first starting with stuff. No one had answers to stuff. They try to give me this medication or that medication. They just don't. I don't do well on medications. And so it was lifestyle and creating a lifestyle. Then even now, like through healing injuries, has been, finding those mentors that can help guide you to listen to your body stronger, instead of saying, hey, this is what I think. This is, here's your list. And you're like, excuse me, this doesn't quite feel right. But instead of people like, okay, here's this, let's work together to see what your body's telling you.
Yeah, that working together is key, because we are the experts of our body. And and that's an important thing. Once you start learning, I actually know my body best. Health really gets a chance to change. So in all ways. Ron, there we go.
Here, there's construction right outside my window.
You look like you were going to say something, so I wanted to make sure I didn't skip over you.
No, I'm good. We've already heard about a lot of the actions that you've taken. So what are some of the bold actions you're taking now to keep on the path that you've been on?
One of them is just keep going, but as odd as it is for me to actually say this, is realizing rest and the importance of rest. And that it's not, rest isn't backing away from things. It's just giving a moment of calmness to help you do those things better. Because I've always been, very like, okay, this, that, got to keep on going. And rest wasn't in my vocabulary, because I never was one to like, sit down and binge watch something, or, I love a good book, but I'll listen to it as an audiobook while I'm doing something more than like actually just like sitting down. But realizing that in order to give more to the rest of the world, and to kind of, live and take those bold action steps, you have to give back to yourself first. And it's been a hard lesson to learn.
One of my friends said it to me this way, and I'm probably going to butcher this, but imagine her saying it more eloquently than I did. But basically, we have our flow, and imagine our flow and our life force is just like a stream. And every once in a while, we have to stop and take care of ourselves, which is just clearing out the debris from that stream so that flow can keep going. And if we don't, it just slows our flow and eventually just creates a dam, and nothing is flowing at all, because we haven't taken that time to clear out the branches and the twigs and whatever else that's gotten in the way, right? So she told me, she explained self-care to me that way, when it made a lot of sense. If you don't take the time, you're gonna have no flow. And we need flow.
So it's little things now. It's, working on, I've tried to do a garden many times in Florida and have failed at it here for some reason, but trying again and trying to like, okay, I'm going to use a little bit of time, but also giving myself space to explore my creativity more, instead of just like, all right, I have to make for A, B, C, or D. Do all those things still, but where's the kind of expansion going to happen? What's nurturing you at the moment, and what does that look like? And even from that, like I'm adding starting to do incense stick holders this year and working with crystals with them. It's just like little gift things that are fun and exciting, but also collaborating with more people to kind of help get that message out to to the world more, talking to you guys, working with other local artists, because when we our local community can be so vibrant. And it really is the connections that we make throughout life that make a difference. So I've been working with a local candle maker here. We sat down and she came up with scents that matched my artwork, and I got to choose which one. Came up with a combination, and now there's a candle that matches the artwork, and it's another way to kind of just help people lift up moments in their lives when they need it. And working with another person to create a cutting board oil that is free of coconut oil and things like that could aggravate someone's allergies, but a lot of people don't know that. And trying to turn artwork into fabric for apparel and just like exploring different things has kind of been how I'm taking that little step more to be like, okay, I really want to pursue this life. I really want to find a life that is sustainable, that nurtures back, and that gives to more people than just, that just gives more. And, finding these other ways that are outside of like, okay, here's your one thing.
I saw you have coming soon the artwork into apparel. I definitely want to know when that is out because I will be shopping.
I am hoping that I'll have some things going this fall. I've just been doing a lot of making sure, like, product testing and stuff like that. And there's some things that I'm trying to expand on, and like I said, dealing with injuries, it's been kind of hard sitting down for long periods of time. So giving myself the grace that timing happens when timing is supposed to happen, not necessarily on the timetable that I am expecting it to. But yeah, that's coming out. I currently have, I think it's maybe up to 8 different yoga mat designs with a small, it's Big Raven Yoga. It's a small women-owned company out of Minnesota, and they're all like eco-friendly mats and just really, really cool ways of like saying like, hey, like just be creative. And
having like or a different style yoga mat is something that's super cool anyway. Like when I tried to, when I started yoga, like buying yoga mats, I constantly would see something else and be like, I want another one. It's like, no, you don't need another one. If I was going to a yoga studio, I'd love having something that was different than everybody else's.
Well, that's kind of where I'm at right now. Is I want to design another one. Oh, I do. What about these colors? What about those colors? These I have tried so many different mats, and at the end of the day, like, these are eco-friendly, they're plush, but yet stable enough for like doing even like high impact stuff on it. And they're great as just like, this is my little space. That's me. Whether I'm doing yoga or I just go there and sit and, do notes on something, or, honestly, they're my dog's favorite spot to lay. Like she will go and ask me to have the yoga mat laid out if I'm doing something. But yeah, it's really fun ways to collaborate with other people and build that sense of community, and then to share.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Well, we haven't asked you yet about Good Trouble. So we told you we like to ask about this. So what does it mean to you, or what do you think of when you hear Good Trouble? And then how are you creating Good Trouble?
Let's see. That's a hard question, honestly. Good Trouble is finding a way to pursue something that speaks to you in a certain way that might not be what has been laid out before.
Mm.
You know, even if it's, I remember way back when I was doing my master's degree, and to think now that I went from, okay, here's this research side, to here I'm an artist, and kind of just being like, it's not that I'm turning my back on one thing, I'm bringing them both together to create something new and different, and a path that speaks to me. It might not be, okay, you did this master's, now you go and, you know, you work for this organization, then you go here and then you go here, but creating your own steps. You know, I also cook for my husband who has, you know, gluten and nut allergies and stuff like that. And I'm constantly breaking recipes. I do not cook based upon a recipe or bake.
Mm-hmm.
But it's little things like that. It's like, all right, what, taking the time to be like, what if I did this? Or trusting yourself to know that if I do these things, I can have this thing happen.
Yes, finding ways to break the rules.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Good Trouble that I'm up to at the moment, I don't really know. I'll have to get back to you on that one.
Being creative.
I've got ideas as to where I'm trying to go with stuff. So I'll let you know the big adventure story at the end.
Sounds good.
So that being said, why don't you tell us what you are currently up to?
So right now I am finishing some of my, summer tends to be one of my commission seasons. So I'm finishing up a bunch of commissions, and I am getting ready for my fall shows. So it means working with a lot of, you know, making cutting boards, making ornaments, kind of like all that side of the stuff to be able to be stocked up for those, and also to, you know, fill online orders with stuff, working with getting the designs finalized for the prints that I'm working on. And then also, you know, just listening to my body more with what it's wanting to do movement wise, which is a new thing for me, and not like, okay, I'm gonna go lift all the weights or something like that. And pretty soon gonna go camping for a couple weeks. Well, about a week. I wish it was a couple weeks, but you know, just disconnecting from everything and going to go hike those mountains.
Nice. And you're Florida area, doing live markets in Florida.
Yep.
So you might be our only Florida listener. You may have heard us making fun of Florida and then be like, oh no, we offended our listeners.
No, not at all. I'm a transplant here currently. This isn't exactly, it's wonderful, but it's not what resonates with me.
No, we just had what was Curtis and they just moved to Florida.
Melissa and Chad Curtis.
Yeah, the Curtises.
So I don't know where Sarasota is in Gainesville area, but still, like, there are fun people moving to Florida. So actually, there are some listeners in Florida.
Well, I think if my husband and I had the opportunity, we would be in the mountains or in the desert in a heartbeat. So
come join us in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, that's it's a goal, you know, step by step right now. But yes, I do a lot of live markets here, but I also post, you know, videos of all my markets on Instagram and other things that I'm working on there, and people can always just reach out and be like, hey, I saw this, is it available? Like, I'm trying to keep that personal side of my business, you know, with everything I do, because at the end of the day, like, if we can have that personal connection, it's great. You know, it gives a little bit more depth to everything, and I can find what you're looking for more. So I'll have people who reach out, because I ship nationwide. I'll have people reach out and be like, hey, so I saw this. Do you have anything else like it? Or what about this size or these colors or, anything like that? Any way that I can help you find something that's unique and resonates with you, that gives me meaning behind what I do.
Mm. Yeah. So then where can our listeners go to find out more about you or to keep up to date if they're in Florida area and where they can find you?
Yeah. So Instagram and Facebook are the best places to find me. It's at Design by Jess Ann. And my website is designbyjessann.com. And you can always just send me an email too at designbyjessann@gmail.com. And that's ANNE.
That is a good clarification.
Yes. I get asked that
And
many
with
times.
an E.
And with an E. So yeah.
Like Anne of Green Gables, the show on Netflix. And with an E.
And then you can also find the yoga mats that we were talking about at bigravenyoga.com in their guest artist section.
So, is there anything that you would like to ask us or anything that we missed that you would like to share?
I would just love to know from you guys, like, what inspired your pirate journeys? Just what inspired you? Because that's what, at the end of the day, we can share inspiration. Hopefully others can be more daring in following what inspires them.
I'm going to let Kristen go first because I have a dog freaking out in the background.
Oh, that's your dog that was making the noise?
Wasn't Hadley for once.
Yeah, so my inspiration started when I was teaching. And I would say mine came from partially it was inspired by my husband giving me like a push of I wanna grow, and I didn't want to be left behind. So I was like, well, if he's growing, I better jump on too. But I had spent so much of my life, I'd felt anxiety, but I didn't even know. Like by 36, I wouldn't have identified as like I have anxiety in my body. I was like I have anxious moments. And then I started acupuncture and yoga and started to realize, oh, my body doesn't actually always have to have like this tight fist in my stomach at all times. And it can feel normal. And then about 3.5 years ago now, we did a program called Training Camp for the Soul, where it was like this immersive deep dive program, 6 days in a mountain with some strangers, digging into stories and learning that what they call it your script. Like when you're born, you're handed a script from the people that come before you, your parents, your grandparents, whomever, and you get to decide like how you're going to use the script. But most of us go along and we choose an acting role within the script, and it's usually not even the main actor. It's like a side character in this play. So clearing out all those stories to realize that I'm the actor, the producer, the director, like I get to take control of my life. And after I went through that program, I was teaching at the time, and my stress levels with the kids changed so much. Like I had all these behavior things happening before where I felt like if I turned my back for a second, little fires were everywhere. Like I'd say, hey guys, let's clean up. We're going to go outside. Think that's enough to be like, yes, let's get cleaned up so we can go outside. And then all of a sudden I've got a kid crying because another kid punched them in the face. And that kid, when I go to talk to him, like, why did you punch him? Because he said he was going to punch me. Okay. Like fires everywhere. But once I started controlling myself, my breathing and my like what was going on in my head started to change. My stress levels went down. And I started realizing like if I say no to the kids, it was a stress in my chest. Like I'd get stressed, I'd feel tight. But if I could reword to like instead of saying no to them, be like, we go down the slide and we walk up the stairs instead of don't climb up the slide. Just changing the way I talked was changing the way I felt. And so as a teacher, I'm like, there's so many stressed out teachers. And if they only knew that it can be simple little word shifts, like so small and minute, and it can make a huge impact. And so that was for me, a lot of where my journey, my inspiration started coming from was like, all you have to do is just change a little bit of how you're talking and you can feel so much better. I mean, there's even more things you can do to change how you feel even greater, but like tiny little shifts can make a huge impact. So that was my main inspiration, which then led to creating Language Ninjas and writing a children's book. And now my second book is being illustrated. So, um, and then I have, well, Melissa Curtis, who we were just talking about, who's moving to Florida. Now she and I are doing a podcast for parents. So like all these inspirations that have come, yeah, from this podcast. So,
Mhm.
mhm,
It's fascinating how it can just be one little word can
mhm,
change how you're doing something and
yeah,
how your body reacts to it. And, you know, that's part of just like being one with your body on this like discovery journey.
mhm,
And, for me, before I even recognized that side of things, I was seeing it through color and how
mm,
for different people, different colors can kind of start to have that effect. Because if you can change where your mind is going, you can change where your body's response is.
mhm. So, Karan, what was your inspiration?
Yeah, for me, it was kind of something similar that you talked about, was just a bit of a health issue that I was having. And I really struggled to find anyone to help me in terms of like the normal medical system. And starting to work with a naturopath and actually having a better understanding of how diet, lifestyle, all of these things were impacting my health led to me just wanting to be educated on women's health in general. Can you hear that? Like
Yeah.
crazy hammer. There is like I said, construction is right outside my window. But yeah, learning more about women's health and then wanting to be the resource that I wish I had for my own health journey. And so now that led to during COVID, quitting my corporate job and going all in on coaching and helping women. So I work with, I'd say like 90% of my clients are women. And we work together I teach them movement. There's a lot of women that I work with come to me at, I would say, the later stages of life, in their like, not later stages, mid stages of life. So maybe in their 40s or 50s, and have never exercised before. No one's ever taught them, and they've always been intimidated to go to a gym. Which is exactly where I was, hours on the elliptical, the women's only section, because that's all I really knew. So teaching them how to move their body, how important things like resistance training is, especially as we get older and our hormones change, teaching them nutrition and what their body really needs, especially as we transition from our reproductive years to the rest of our life, which is not over by any means. So many people think, oh, menopause and then women's life is over, except you've got like 20, 30 more years. That is really, your body is different and needs different things. So yeah, it's led me to leave behind what I was doing and going all in on helping other women and their health journeys and to feel good in their bodies. Yeah.
Very cool. Because the really unique thing that I hear, across the board is by listening to your body and finding that thing that inspires you, creating your own path based upon that. And that's where I think like through encouraging more of that, we can find that deeper health that so many of us struggle with that isn't necessarily answered in ways that, in the ways that we're searching for it. That it almost comes from within, but with the right guidance to let us find that.
Yeah. I mean, I really resonate when you said like, the doctors want to put you on the medications, and that's exactly what my family doctor did. She's like, oh, you're having these issues? Here's an antidepressant. But I wasn't depressed. That was not what I was there for. That's not what my issue was. And I didn't want a Band-Aid. And I feel like too often we're just giving Band-Aids and not actually dealing with the root causes of what we're dealing with. So yeah, understanding those lifestyle diet changes, and a lot of clients, it's not even like, here's your macros, like, this is what I want you to eat. It's like, cool, I need you to get outside for at least 30 minutes of sunlight a day. I need you to like turn the screens off an hour before bed so we can actually get like the quality sleep that we need. You know, these changes have huge impacts on the rest of our life and our health that are usually overlooked. So yeah.
I found today, I realized, is my 2-year anniversary of when I quit my job. So 2 years of being on my own.
Congratulations.
Thanks. And with that, what came up, or one of the reasons why I knew I needed to leave the job was I realized probably about a year or two before I quit, one day my heart was hurting. I was like, my heart, like, I feel like if I keep going on this job, I'm going to end up in the hospital. Like, it's going to be me or my health. And I didn't know at the time that it wasn't like an actual physical heart condition from the stress. I wasn't listening to my heart, and my heart was physically hurting because I had been ignoring it so hard. And yeah, being able to finally acknowledge that, say, quit the job for that reason, for myself, because every job before that had been, I needed to quit because either the family I was nannying for moved away or I was moving somewhere else. So it was always a passive quitting, and I needed to quit actively. I needed to choose myself. And yeah, just that, things like that too, where it's like, we might not realize that it's not just stress in our life that could be causing this pain. It could be we're actually ignoring that voice inside of us that is like, no, you are on the wrong path for you. Like, and we ignore ourselves so hard that the body keeps the score. It's presenting somewhere.
Yeah.
It'll send you all the signals and let you know,
Mm.
and you can get by for a while, but it catches up.
Mhm.
Like, how many days did you wake up in the morning and be like, oh, fuck, I gotta go to work? Or like, oh, thank God it's the weekend. And then Sunday, you get the Sunday sads because you're like, crap, it's Monday already. And you're like, this wasn't a big enough hint that we weren't doing the right thing?
Well, part of what connected Karan and I too was near the end of my time working. Like, one of the only things that was getting me through was we were in and it was a program called Enlifted. We're in level 2, and part of it was we were playing our corner man song. So our song that would boost us up, and Karan's was Boss Bitch. And I would like blast that, and then my song and a couple others that would get me going. And it was really Boss Bitch that got me going, like kept me going through until my lunch, until I was able to do something else that would get me. But it was like this major mindset of like, I need something because I'm drowning here.
Yeah.
Thank you, Doja Cat.
Yeah.
For getting us both through that.
Because it really is, it's those little things that we don't spend enough time on until something happens in life that kind of like waves that really big red flag. And it does happen time and time again. And that's kind of where like the concept of seasonality to life is like really stuck in that, what I thought was working for a long time, suddenly this past year, my body's been like, okay, yeah, we're ready for a change because you kind of overdid it there. So we need to readjust from what you did for the past 10 years. And, when you were in survival mode, because my entire goal for this year was to move from survival to sustainability. Like, that was my New Year's resolution or whatnot. I just didn't know it was going to be this kind of journey it was going to be on, of like, okay, let's break everything down then and rebuild from here. But your body knows.
It does. So, saying that, how would you recommend our listeners going about starting their own pirate life?
I would say take a moment and really listen to what your body's telling you. When you're doing something, does your heart feel different? Does your soul feel different? Is there less tension? who around you is helping to support that? What are you consuming, whether it's visual, who are you listening to, any of those things? If something doesn't feel right, let yourself walk away from that, because it might be the scariest thing you do, but it might lead you down a path that you never could have believed how positive it would be. Because usually it's in those moments where we feel like everything is being torn apart that we then, not necessarily rebuild, but we become more ourselves. It's more stripping away, getting through the clouds.
So beautiful. You've got such good words. Do you write? You should write. Will you write us a book?
I will tell you, be full of spelling errors because I am dyslexic, but I would.
That's what editors are for.
Uh-huh.
And I love that our author on here says, "You've got good words."
Yes. Well, I am happy to lend my words to help with anything whenever they're needed.
Well, we have one more important question, because you do have one. Do you know any pirate jokes?
This one came from my husband, and he was so excited when I asked him this question to help me with. What did the one pirate say to the other as soon as they set sail? Are we there yet?
That's a great one.
That is a great one, and a new one. We haven't heard it, so we much appreciate that this late in the game we're still getting some new pirate jokes.
Well, if you ever need any, I have a good resource, because there was many jokes to choose from.
Awesome. Well, this has been so much fun talking to you, and we really appreciate you joining us today and sharing your story.
I have really enjoyed this. Thank you guys so much for creating this space for people, for telling your stories, but also letting other people have the chance to tell theirs, and hope that other people will go live their pirate lives.